Tales from my D&D campaign.
Previously,
name's Grilladin.
My unit was escorting a diplomat on the far west side of the continent, but we stumbled on this weird walking wall. So my commander, Sergeant Chen, who did not like me, assigned me to follow it. Stones from this freaky wall kind of sank into the ground on one side, then rose back up on the other, moving it about a mile a day. So it was like watching grass grow, only more like watching a wall grow, like grass. But after a while it made this archway, and that was different, but I looked through it, and looked around it, and cast Detect Magic on it, and it seemed like a normal arch. It seemed so normal that I stuck my head through it and, whoops. Then I was attacked by wolves, but I shot 2 of them, and they got the hint and backed off. Well, the other ones got the hint, not the dead ones. But apparently that pissed them off because they kept following me from a distance, waiting for me to nod off. So I hadn't slept in like 2 days when I ran into a bunch of people on spooky floating horses. And they said they were being chased by some kind of vampiric monarch, but they might be able to get me out of the Shadowfell, so I went with them until the horses exploded. So, now what do we do?
The thing is, I think this is nothing but a waylayer.
Are you suggesting that its entire purpose in life was to blow up your horses? Because that would be absolutely maniacal and diabolical.
If they're doing everything they can to slow us down, that would definitely do it.
This slows you down by like a factor of 1,000,000.
Yes, it does.
Those things traveled as far in an hour as you can march in a day.
Yes. Thank you. 5 minutes after they finished off the tentacle casters, they had resumed heading northish towards the foothills which contained the entrances to the underpass, which would take many hours on foot. But then they heard a cry in the distance, behind them, a discordant caw that grated on the nerves. Down! They hit the dirt, turning to face the noise, and watched a pair of very large, dark, bird-like forms flying past, 5 or 6 miles away. Obviously not flying very high, beneath the 17-foot ceiling in the Shadowfell, but they appeared to be on a path not far off from where the party had been riding before they turned towards the underpass route. I think I see some kind of riders. Oh, that's great! The things fly out of view, screeching again. Is that the kind of scream that would cause saving throws if we were closer? No comment. For all we know, it's a new NPC who wants to join our party. I think your slots are full. We aren't recruiting anything from the Shadowfell. Well, we already have. Name's Grilladin?
2, counting your mount. Aw man, why didn't we bring her for this? Would have been awesome.
Rainbow Dash did survive out here somehow.
And it sure wasn't stealth.
So how much are they coming towards us?
Basically, not at all. They've passed by you already. Alright, let's kill them and move on. That might be hard, since they're miles away and continuing on past you at regular horse speed, if not faster. And we've gone from super horses to, like, no horses. Well, the second they start to turn, we open fire. Maximum range.
Open fire? With blistering radiance?
The creatures don't turn, though, so they keep marching on. On the plus side, moving at foot speeds, they are much less likely to be caught by surprise in an identical ambush. And each time they approach some cluster of freeze or other potential cover, Angel moves ahead to scout it, with Little One covering her from a short distance back in his lighter armor. I can actually be pretty stealthy. After an hour, Rygax checks out a rock outcropping, which Angel had already scouted. But after looking it over for a bit, he shakes his head and returns to the group. Somebody's leaving you messages? No. I wish they were. 10 minutes later, they come upon a pair of large scorpionish freak monsters. Don't worry, the larger the scorpion, the weaker the poison. Oh wait, that's real life, not D&D.
They coming for us?
Yes, they go right for you and attack, but you guys just slaughter them.
Oh, good.
They could be dangerous for, like, one of you, but all of you together are way too powerful. See, everything's gonna be fine, guys.
Yes, I'm surprised we got so far without running into any Corbinoids. They are edible.
Pass.
I could cook them with blistering radiance.
Maybe a method which isn't visible for miles around?
But later, in one of their mini scouting runs, you see a shape in the sparse underbrush, just a little bit too regular for a rock, but it catches your attention. Angel creeps closer until she can tell it's part of a hood poking out of the ground. Can it see us? No, actually, it seems to be facing in the opposite direction.
I cast silence on myself. Didn't you already use your racial silence? It's still the same day that you fought the Lich Golem.
Yeah, but I also have the actual spell as a Beguiler, so I cast that and move into range of it so it can't hear him coming.
She's just gonna tap it on the shoulder.
No shoulder, it's mostly underground. Literally just a head, just a few inches of tentacle in a hood sticking up.
I'll move to within 320 feet, because with Farshot, that's only one range increment for me.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna walk up behind him in your silence, hit him, then you rip him apart. Okay, Searing Blade, Avalanche of Blades. I get to keep attacking till I miss, with -4 each time. Oh yeah!
What's your crit chance?
On my spear, I only crit on a 20.
It gets an AC bonus from the ground, but I'm gonna say that due to the circumstances, you can crit on an 18+.
Okay.
That's a crit right there.
A poor roll on the third attack means he only gets 2 hits anyway, but since spears have ×3 critical hit damage, he ends up hitting it for 72 and another 26 even after its fire resistance. It doesn't react very much. The hood kind of goes flat, leaving a little ooze. You aren't able to recover the robe from this one as it died phased into the ground.
I bet it's a spotter for some others.
I was thinking that the other ones would pop up, but you know, with the silence spell and all, I don't think they clue in. Despite having a magical ability, the minions are really not sentient. Whereas the main one, the kind that casts Earth Reaver, must be smart enough to lead its fire to have caught all our horses at the speed we were moving.
Well, that sated my need to smash something for a while. I'm okay with not going back for Swain now.
Yes, you feel a sense of triumph that is grossly disproportionate to the difficulty of that fight.
I wonder how many of these groups are out there then. Could they have been placed in our path, or are they all over?
In my expert opinion, it was probably staying still most of the time, just rotating every so often.
They watch carefully as they pass the would-be ambush spot, but the tentacle caster's backup dancers never rise up. About 40 minutes later, Rygak signals another pause and wanders about 100 feet off course to kneel down next to a rock and some plants. You've seen tons of these plants. This bunch doesn't look like anything special. But he removes his left glove, touches the plant, and starts talking to it quietly. Oh, so he's crazy. What is the deal with this guy?
We didn't know he talks to plants.
Shh, I'm trying to hear.
Swain is on the hunt, heading out from Mount Pillar. No. Huh? No, definitely not.
Hate when someone's having a one-way conversation about something that matters to you, and you're like, can't you just phrase something in a way that makes sense?
Huh? I don't think so. Perhaps. No, I wouldn't. Uh-huh. She is. Interesting. Uh-huh. Right. Thank you.
He stands and slips his glove back on, returning to the group. Wait, he wasn't listening with his ear, but with his fingers?
The Mazania say that groups of dark magi, like the two we've encountered, have been popping up all over the northeast of Swain's lands. The good news is, Swain didn't specifically know we were coming this way. Unfortunately, we don't know if that first group was able to communicate back somehow before you destroyed them. But, at the very least, they don't appear to be communicating with each other.
Or this one would have been facing the right way. If they can't communicate with each other, I think we can safely assume they weren't calling home.
Probably.
What's the bad news?
The other news doesn't affect us directly, I suppose. Apparently, the Oluana Spring is very close to erupting. But that's quite far from here.
Meaning?
Sorry. Right. Not used to companions. The Oluana Spring is a river spirit over in Cornello's territory. Not shackled, because it's more valuable as it is. It is capable of granting immortality, once every 110 years. But it's been 112 years and counting since the last time.
But the vampires don't care about immortality. They can't get, double immortality, can they?
Not for themselves, but they grant many powers to their lieutenants.
It's about to go off.
From the sound of it, yes.
I want it so bad.
almost sounds like Rygax has had it before.
Now I'm just a half-elf.
And it's against his religion.
He nods.
From the sound of it, Oluwan has been trying to hold off as long as possible, but doing so risks causing famine downstream for several forests, some Abyxian lands, a Myconid kingdom.
What does this immortality mean? You just don't age?
Essentially.
Does it cure diseases?
It should protect against most non-magical disease. I don't know about curing existing diseases, though.
If you could just get a sample of it. Oh, I didn't even think of that. That is f***ing genius.
But it's not the whole stream. It's concentrated whatever.
It is only the first waters. It has only ever been known to affect one person. But are you aware of Baron Deathmoor?
No, never heard of him.
Isn't that the bastard who kidnapped like all of Woodbridge?
Yeah, we later found out that Baron Woodbridge had given all his people to Cornello and is now calling himself Deathmoor. Traded them for power.
That necromancer in Good Place called out to him. Good Place.
Baron Deathmoor is one of Cornello's traditional lieutenants. But if there's a new Deathmoor, he hasn't been very active, because that set of powers drain the wielder's life force. And it has to be a living wielder. If he was turned undead, he would have no life force to spend. So he has great, some would say tremendous powers, but using them would age him rapidly.
But if he drinks from the spring,
He would become immortal, and his life force could sustain nearly limitless use of those powers. He would become a proper Baron Deathmoor, and a very significant tool in his master's wars and other schemes.
That's quite a combo. So what you're saying is we have a new side quest.
A new main quest, apparently.
I would very much like to prevent that from happening. Though, if you are concerned, as your Rakshasas seem to be, about the balance of power in these lands, I cannot deny that a fully realized Baron Deathmoor would make Cornello much more of a match for Swain.
Oh, that.
yeah.
What happens if nobody drinks from the spring?
Well, it has never happened in my lifetime, but if nobody received the first waters, they would mingle with the other waters, and probably grant a blessing of good health to the lands downstream and to all who drank of them.
That would be okay. Let it mingle, then we all take a drink, maybe cure the space AIDS.
Or we put the seed in first, then drink what comes after.
First things first, I just drink it directly. You guys. I'll give you blood transfusions later.
I will f***ing stab you.
Depending how immortal it makes you, it might still be worth it.
So are we going for this spring or what?
In the short term, it doesn't change anything. You're still headed for Cornello's territory. The underpass is still a valid way to get there, or you could still try to go through the fort. This is a fair ways off for now. Well, we're here for a week, so we might as well save the multiverse while we're in the neighborhood. So how did you all get space AIDS? Together?
Some guy tried to kill the world, and we saved the world, got space AIDS as a reward.
And what does that mean exactly?
It's not contagious.
It'll kill us eventually.
Already started on me.
But the spirit seed we found has been protecting us.
So we have protection now. Well, better late than never, I guess.
I did learn one other thing from the Mazania. A spirit I know is actually nearby on this end of the swamps. It wouldn't help with the underpass route, but if you wanted to go the other way, either to attack Hardweg Castle or try to sneak past it, this spirit could guide us a large part of the way. If we could enlist her help as a guide, as long as we traveled with her and continued moving, we should be not only safe from the dangers and pitfalls of the swamp itself, but we should be essentially undetectable to anyone for that leg of the journey.
Why didn't you bring this up before?
I didn't think she was at this end of the swamp until the Mazania told me.
Is that in the direction of the spring?
Yes, but not all the way. It won't get us nearly as far as the underpass would. I'm not sure if she could help with the forests, but with her, I'm sure we could cross at least 20 miles of noxious swamps safely.
I don't care which way we go as long as we're heading for the spring. I say we go with the swamp. Disappear.
As long as we can catch up with her.
With who?
The spirit in the swamp. Her name is Weego.
Okay, so he thinks the swamp is the safest thing.
Probably. For those 20 miles, though you'd be moving away from the underpass entrance, you'd effectively be committing to the overland route. The deciding factor turns out to be the need to have one of the spellcasters rest and regain spells. Though most of the party are trapped in the Shadowfell until Swain's Curse of Natharan wears off, or until they can find a natural portal, they still badly want to get their vulnerable NPCs, Zahir, Black's father, and Dwarf Daggerface, back to the Fadelands as soon as possible. Since Rygax is confident that if they can secure Weego's guidance, they can pass through her swamp in near total safety, undetectable by essentially any means as long as they keep moving, they figure they could have Draven cast Floating Disc, the same spell from Mora's Amulet, but using his full caster level so it lasts more than 8 hours. Then, under the spirit's protection, they would have Rygax rest on a disc to regain spells and memorize a plane shift, with the disc following Draven as they traveled, so that by the end of the swamp, he could transport the NPCs to safety.
This is all contingent on being able to catch her. She probably won't volunteer to help us, but it should be fine.
Another hour's march, and they're coming up on the edge of the swamp. Gray and black trees standing in stagnant water of indeterminate depth. Bad movie set? Yes. Some of them reach the top, and they can't go any higher, so they start coming down like a weeping willow. Others mesh together in a dense canopy. How's the smell?
Oh, God.
Not as bad as you thought. Not supernaturally bad.
Supernaturally?
This is the Shadowfell.
There was the possibility of it being magically bad.
Smells bad.
So, Rygax, how exactly are we supposed to catch her? This guide?
Well, while she's free, while she's not serving as a guide, I should be able to locate her non-magically with the help of all the Mezzania in this area. Once we find her, though, she'll probably try to deter us.
What's that mean? Deter?
But once she starts to flee, one of us just needs to lay a hand on her.
Like a leprechaun thing?
I suppose?
Do you have water breathing? Because I might need that. Hard to swim in armor.
Mora is the only one with water breathing.
Once we have the guide, that will be no problem. But until then, yes, we'd all be wise to step as close as possible to the base of the trees, because further out, it's hard to tell if the water is 1 foot deep, or 6 feet, or 20.
This plan is sounding worse with every step. Does this count as difficult terrain?
It's not all difficult, but if you use that stance,
Where I ignore difficult terrain penalties and actually get bonuses?
yes, you should be able to consistently find difficult terrain in here to benefit from it. Like the opposite of everyone else looking for good footing. Though it does mean not using your hunter stance.
I think Rygax can do the finding.
As they move further in, every 20 feet or so, Rygax wanders over to some plant or taps on some tree. You're starting to wonder what this Mezzania is, though, because there's no consistency to where he's looking. Some kind of moss? Lichen. At least under the swamp's canopy, there seems to be little chance of being spotted by the flying things. They do have to kill a few aggressive creatures, in particular some type of half-crocodile, half-fish things, though after they slay 2 of them, the rest start to keep their distance, watching. It's like the wolves all over again.
Can't sleep. Wolves will eat me.
That's not funny, man.
She's close. Everyone try to keep a low profile.
Done.
She's on the move, but if we go about 40 feet that way and then hide, she should pass fairly close to us.
I'll hide over by Rygax.
The rest of them spread out somewhat. Though a little slimy, especially towards the bottom, the trees didn't seem to be animate or creepy or otherwise dangerous. You see a little glow for an instant, but then it disappears. Then, a little one, you see a huge invisible horror. It has a big armored body like a particularly nasty spiked crab, but with 4 scorpion-like tails sticking out. Almost tacked on at the front is an upright, armless torso with a head resembling a hammerhead shark.
Okay, Rygax, you're a f***ing ass.
Rygax gives a hand motion to wait. The frightful creature waded through the swamp with nary a sound, its path beginning to curve away from everyone, 80 feet from most, though it passed within 30 feet of where Angel and Rygax hid. Around the closest point, Rygax rose and dispelled it, stripping the invisibility, revealing the monstrosity to all.
This is when you flee.
I thought this thing was going to run away from us!
When it runs, we just have to touch it. Until then, we have to fight it.
Everyone makes a DC 24 fear save, but the player characters all pass, except Krillodin. Yeah, I'm rolling horrible tonight.
I'll run up and attack. Is it possible to kill this thing?
Try not to hurt her.
I get 28 on Intimidate. No, this is when you flee, bitch! Sorry, I rolled a 20.
Roll to confirm?
Yep, still hit.
So that's a crit then. Make another will save, Angel.
Make that 2.
You realize this thing is an illusion. You didn't inflict any damage because the huge monster whose throat you tried to rip out isn't real. The rest of you see Angel slash her chain across its neck, but it seems completely unaffected.
Pathetic mortals! You are impotent before the power of...
Weego. The whole monstrosity disappears, leaving only a tiny glowing sphere near the center. Naming it was all it took to reveal it. Once it was visible,
Damn you, Rygax! Ah!
everyone within 30 feet, so Angel and Rygax, has to make a DC 20 fort save.
Well, I think I failed. I did.
You are blinded, and so is Rygax. It looks like it was actually focused on him, and blinding you was more of a side effect.
Attack of opportunity?
You were already attacking from reach because you thought it was a huge creature, so being at the center, it's actually just out of your reach now. It's going to go ahead and flee 50 feet.
Now grab the wisp and try not to hurt her.
So you don't want 2 arrows in it? Because I could definitely put 2 arrows in it.
Not while you're feared.
So it's 110 feet from me? Well, my fly spell has a speed of 60, so I can get there if I charge. And do what? You're aiming for a melee touch attack. That's all you need to do, if he's right. A literal touch. Okay. +2 from charging... No. A field repels your hand as it dodges deftly aside. I might be able to hit it with just 1 arrow. If I really try, I can probably get one to miss. Dwarf Daggerface jogs in that direction. He seems less affected by the terrain than you would have expected, but slow and steady is never going to catch up to perfect flight speed 50 on her home turf.
How far am I?
Also about 110 feet.
So you're screwed.
Not necessarily. If I cast Divine Transformation for flight, I can cast it from my belt of battle. Then I still have my full round action to charge over there.
Yep, you can charge because you're flying. Otherwise, there'd be no way to charge through the swamp.
Except my stance.
Come on.
As Draven flies up, the wisp swerves around to dodge with perfect maneuverability, making it look easy, but gets caught between him and the glowing rook that blasts in like some kind of avatar of Sirius, and tags her. You feel a strong electric field. Nobody can see it, but inside your armor, all your hair is standing up on end, like a Van der Graaf sphere. But as soon as you make physical contact, Weego jumps away a few inches, but otherwise stops dead, and her glow dims a lot. It takes a couple rounds for everyone to catch up, and it takes another round or 2 for Angel and Rygax to regain their vision. Rygax pats you on the shoulder.
Good job.
Rygax? Rygax?
Whap! You hitting him?
Not actually. You couldn't have told us what to expect?
I didn't expect her to come at us like that.
You really need to work on your communication skills.
I don't disagree.
What do you want, Rygax?
You'll have to ask my friend here. He caught you, which means you owe him a boon. For example, if we were guided by Weego, there would be virtually nothing that could find us in the swamp unless we walked right into a vampire king.
Let's do that one. Can I use diplomacy? I tell her, I hope that in the future we can meet on more even terms. Maybe repay you.
That's a solid roll, and an effort a lot of people wouldn't bother to make in this kind of situation, but it's very hard to discern any reaction from the glowing sphere. Although somehow she makes it obvious that she's annoyed at Rygax, even when she's not speaking. So Draven casts the disc for Rygax to rest on and memorize plane shift as they travel. Black or Draven couldn't cast it because in our setting the caster has to go through the portal with the group, and the curse prevents them from doing so.
He's a half-elf, right? Could he sleep on Mora's disc for the 3 hours or whatever and somebody else regain spells on your good one?
No, it turns out half-elves do have the bonus on saves against sleep magic, but they don't actually get the reduced sleep like full elves. Would really have helped with the wolves. Once Weego starts eating them, she begins to leave a ghostly green trail behind her, and as long as they follow it, the party seem to be safe from missteps in the otherwise treacherous swamp. You are starting to worry that her own glow or the trail might be giving you away, but then you see one of those scorpionish things chase a smaller animal right past you as though you weren't even there, and the sounds around them seem just a little dimmer to Angel's keen hearing.
Remember, don't attack anything, for it will break her protection. If you see anything, wake me and I'll let you know if it's an actual problem.
When he's done, I call next turn on the disc. I haven't slept in almost 3 days now. Can she get us all the way to the spring? No, only her domain, right?
What are the actual limits to this thing?
I don't know exactly. Weego, can you guide us through the forest north of your swamp?
The Wisp's answer was anything but certain, though. There are other things that rule the forest. She could travel there quite safely on her own, but she wasn't sure she could cover their noisy crashing through the brush.
Except me.
Well, you have to acknowledge, it's possible that even you are a little noisy, relative to the Wisp. She may not be happy, but under Weego's care, they pass a pretty uneventful 8 hours.
Good.
They had asked her to take her time, so they'd not quite reached the edge of the swamp yet, as Rygax prayed to Anku for his spells. While they sort out who's going back to the Fadelands and who's staying to tough it out with the plane-locked PCs, the Vampire Hunter used a casting of Break Enchantment to clear off the last of their doom charges from the mountain, which had been reducing their ability to heal.
I think we should send the bolts with them.
I like it. Are you going to keep the Swain one, or send all of them? I kind of like the idea of keeping Swains. We could potentially bargain that with
Cornholio?
Cornello.
Cornholio.
That's probably going to stick.
There's your bargaining chip.
Also, we may want to reserve the option to shoot Swain. In the end, they settle on sending back Zahir, Blackdad, and Daggerface, with the other 4 ancient artifact bolts. Zahir is looking better, and he was able to get back some of his low-level spells, but he turns out to have some ability drain on his mental stats, which would only slowly heal, now that he was out of the effect of the Lich's ego.
Can you get my father back to the Basilica?
Yes, I visited there with you before. I can get him back there. For all I know, Mahar may be waiting there for me.
You sure I can't come with you?
We need you to protect the others. They're still in rough shape.
So I'm the tank? Got it.
I'm so glad to get my dad out of this place.
Thought about sending Mora back, but decided not to.
She's very useful. Better keep that out of character, or you'll hurt that hideous guy's feelings. He looks like he can use all the self-esteem he can get. So Rygax casts Plane Shift, taking the 3 NPCs back to the relative safety of Vistria in the Fadelands, then returned about a minute later. Mora, who is almost like another player character, ended up staying, and Krillidin, who is another player character, despite his stated goal to get out of the Shadowfell, decided to stick with these weirdos and help them stop some villain from gaining immortality, rather than just being stranded far from his Feywild home in yet another foreign plane. From what I've seen, you guys would be in real trouble without me. Also, out of character, if Krillin leaves now, I'd just end up having to make another character and bump into you again somehow. They get moving again as soon as possible, since Weego's protection only worked while following her, while moving. But when they reached drier land and the gray, swampy trees began to give way to much healthier-looking pines, Weego apparently deemed her boon to be fulfilled, abruptly jetting off back into the swamp with a disgruntled sound.
I was hoping for more, but I'm not really surprised. Now, we just need to find a way past Hydlide Castle to the border.
Past or through?
The week of hell has barely begun. Next time on Tales from My D&D Campaign.
It was nice to see a proper sun for a change.
Why do you stay in the Shadowfell anyway?
Anku does depend on me. I shudder to think what will happen when I'm gone.
You're kind of like his avatar?
That's a little grandiose.
His champion?
I think I can say, without hubris, that I am Anku's most important servant right now. For better or for worse.
Yeah, she's gone. The Global appears to have dumped us.
But Weego. We go.
The boon was to the end of her domain, and her domain ends here. At least we were able to get your friends out.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we sneak through the forest the old-fashioned way.
Well, the thing about this forest...
The thing about? I'm really starting to hate this guy.